Week 4 almost in the books. The first quarter tournament on Underdog also almost in the books. And unfortunately, the season for Malik Nabers is in the books. Injuries continuing to pile up in fantasy football and best ball, impacting our best ball teams and fantasy football squads. We're going to get into all that, everything that happened in week 4 here with myself and Rob Coakley in the best ball basement, dive into those first quarter finals and everything that happened. A chaotic Cowboys-Packers game, a pretty fun week 4, all things considered. We're going to get into it now here on Spike Week. Let's do it. All right, Rob, you were at least held up your end of the bargain as the sharper part of this tandem here, making it to the first quarter finals on Underdog, but we briefly touched on it before we went live that finals maybe not going so great. Shout out to everybody that made it into the finals there. Hopefully it's going a little bit better for you guys. I would call week 4 a fun but bittersweet week in fantasy football and best ball. More injuries across the board. Disastrous Ravens performance. What the hell was that? I have no idea. A lot to sink our teeth into. Some possible league winners, actual real life league winners maybe coming out of week 4 as well. So a lot going on. But how are you feeling after week 4? How are you feeling heading into the final two games, particularly with that first quarter contest?
Well, we're not going to win it. We'll dive into the teams in a minute, but I can confidently say we're not taking a trophy home in the first quarter tournament this year, but that's okay because we made the finals with 2 teams. Football was fun yesterday, mostly. I mean, obviously the Nabers stuff you never want to see. Unfortunately with Nabers, feels like I know he's young. I know it's only his second year. But we've already had injury concerns with him, and then that's the ACL. It's feeling like I really hope he doesn't turn into a what could have been guy, which it sort of seems like it might be tracking that way, which sucks. Because they were fun yesterday. The Giants were really fun.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they still won the game.
Yeah.
I can't. That's the craziest thing is, I mean, from a fantasy sense, of course, the injury is the biggest thing, but from it's still the biggest thing for even Giants fans, right? It's their first win and he's the face of the franchise, but they beat the Chargers. They beat the Chargers first game of Jackson Dart. I thought it was a pretty impressive performance by the Giants, all things considered, but obviously it's kind of soured when your superstar goes down.
Yeah. Them winning was, fun. As much as I hate the Giants in general, it was still a fun game. Also shows you why this isn't the Survivor show, but why we don't take a West Coast team traveling east for a 1 p.m. game.
Yep.
Just one of those rules that we try to live by. But yeah, so all in all, though, we got the GT game. We had some explosion games from other players. Lost in all of it, the Woody Marks explosion game.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Was really fun. I don't know if you remember how dumb we were for drafting him. We were told we weren't allowed to draft Woody Marks in the offseason. And we still did it because we are dumb and everything. My best thing that I did last week is I picked him off of waivers last week and had him. I didn't play him, obviously, which sucks, but had him stashed on the bench for my 0-4 fantasy team. So we're gonna make moves towards the end. But yeah, it was, I think it was overall a fun week. The thing I want to hit on with the Nabers thing is I saw a lot of people that were overweight and underweight Nabers yesterday posting some of their exposures. And you got to remember, and it sucks, right? Like if you're overweight a guy, especially a first rounder, and he goes down, it really sucks. It hurts, but it's a double-edged sword because when you're overweight the right guy from the first round that goes off, your portfolio overall is just so much more explosive than other people's portfolios. And those are the risks you have to be willing to take if that's the way you want to play the game. I know I'm going to kill portfolios certain years by playing that way. right? Like it's part of the game. So while I understand you're going to be a little down in the dumps for it, just know that, brighter days are ahead, especially if you continue playing that particular way, because you will get it right on a decent amount of the times, as long as you're not being like insanely silly and pulling up like a third rounder to the first round or some insane stuff. But yeah, you'll have brighter days. It sucks, but you're playing in a way that will make you money, I think, like big money occasionally.
Yeah. Every injury like this definitely, as Consigliere says, worse in best ball than in managed, because you can try to recover in managed. I have one of my main teams, the home league that I've told you about, the old school guys, big auction. We shelled out for Malik Nabers. Actually got a pretty good price on him. Have Puka and Nabers and Trey McBride. It's a pretty solid team despite not having very good running backs. But you lose Malik Nabers in that. You spend whatever $50 on him in an auction. That's painful, but it's not over, right? Like the season isn't over. You're in trouble, but the season isn't over, and the season is certainly not over in best ball. You lose. I've told this story. We've told many other similar stories over the course of the years. I have not won Best Ball Mania or anything like that, but I've had a couple of nice finishes. And when I finished top 10, I drafted 50% J.K. Dobbins that season, right? So 75, let's just call it 75 of my 150, because I think I had like 49% or some shit. J.K. Dobbins teams. That was the year he tore his Achilles at the last play of the first half of the first game, I believe. And it was hilariously, he had already scored a touchdown. He was cooking for the Ravens. You're like, you feel like a genius. And then he goes down. So half my teams lose. And that year he was, like a 5th or 6th round pick, maybe sometimes falling into the 7th, because he had some injury concerns as well. And, you think like, well, not my year, right? And you're fighting an uphill battle, of course. It's of course worse from a first rounder, but you also just you're not going to have 50% of that guy in the first round, most likely. It's just not over, right? Like I still made it to the finals. I still had a very close shot to winning Best Ball Mania, despite that, my highest exposure quarterback was Sam Howell that year, who had a bunch of good games, but also got benched at the end, right? I lost my highest exposure running back in the first half of week 1. It's just, these things happen. Pete Overzet and I, again, we told this story a million times for the folks who've listened, but we got 8th in Best Ball Mania on a co-drafted team, and our RB1 on that 0 running back team was Raheem Mostert, who got hurt on the first fucking play of the season. It's just like, this game is crazy. It sucks. I'm overweight Malik Nabers. I think he was an awesome pick. I think yesterday's game kind of showed that like he was a pretty good pick. He obviously had the nuclear game against Dallas, but who the fuck doesn't? We'll talk about that. But I think like Jackson Dart upgrading the offense was a potential nice thing for Malik Nabers. He's just a really good young football player. You feel bad. It sucks. Nobody's here to like tell you not to feel bad, but it's also like, you got a lot of other teams now. Let's say you have 15% Malik Nabers, just as like, that's kind of a good rule of thumb for like being overweight a first rounder, right? Just a ballpark. Okay, so 85% of your teams don't have Malik Nabers. It sucks because, right, the average would be 8, but 85% of your teams are now going against teams that have an injured Malik Nabers. Those teams now have a better chance to advance, right? You're sitting there looking at your AJ Brown teams or whatever, and you're like, this fucking sucks, right? This dude's terrible. Well, and somebody else just got hurt. One of your other 12 teams, and Malik Nabers teams were doing reasonably well. Wasn't awesome, but when you put up a 40 ball or whatever, like he's a totally fine piece. I'm advancing a good clip of Malik Nabers teams, and so like it's okay. It sucks. It's never fun. Blah blah blah. Right? All those typical caveats, but it's just like this is part of the game. This is what we signed up for, and I'm always just like on to the next. And just to tie it back to what you were saying, like Salf is saying, with Puka, the flip side of this is like, for me, I'm overweight Malik Nabers, but like I'm also, Puka's my highest owned like first rounder, right? I know he was kind of falling a little bit there or whatever, but like Puka Nakua, taking that stance on Puka, and now especially with Nabers going down, if you don't have Nabers on those Puka teams, your Puka team, you just feel like, holy shit, dude, like the runway for Puka to just run away with early round wide receiver production, which he's kind of already doing. is just so massive. And if you scaled back too much because you're afraid of getting overexposed, like, cool, like you got a bunch more, you got your 8% Brian Thomas Jr., but you only got 8% Puka Nakua. It's like, oh, you didn't lose a couple more Nabers teams, but you didn't get your Puka, right? You didn't get your, the Drake London game yesterday was nice. You felt really good about that, right? Amon-Ra, there's all these different guys that you could have moved exposure to and been happier. And like, sometimes you just have to deal with the injuries and I always like, I'm mad when it happens, right? But it's mostly more like I want that really fun player to be playing. I'm always like, okay, well, yeah, 85%. Now let's look at those other 85% because they're in really a lot better shape now than they were a day ago.
Yeah, I want to talk about Puka too, because I was thinking about just like, obviously you can't not think about Puka Nakua this year. He's just going absolutely bonkers currently.
He finally scored a touchdown. See what happens when the fucker scores touchdowns?
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, but what I want to talk about is we have certain players, right? And think about this from the lens before the Stafford injury stuff. So back when we were taking Puka pretty average 7-8 area in the draft, do you think on drafters and DraftKings specifically, full PPR sites, I guess even DraftKings with the yardage bonus, we do this with certain players where we're like, well, he's a better DraftKings play, we should move him up, but we never really do it with first or second round guys. Like, we never have that discussion with those players because their capital's already so high. And my theory was, is this a mistake with certain players? And Puka's like the easy example because he's just going to catch 100 balls every week
by week 10.
Yeah. Were we wrong to not, because we knew what the offense was. This isn't anything like overly shocking. He's doing it at a high success rate, a high clip. I'll give you that, but
he's done that for 2 years though.
Yeah, this has been the offense.
I know that this feels like, my God, Puka's absolutely insane, but he's been insane for he caught fucking 1 billion passes in his first 2 games. He broke like every record under the sun. He's about to break like even more records in his first 3 seasons, and he's missed time. This is just who he is.
Yeah. So my question just becomes, was it a blind spot to everybody? Because nobody that I heard, and maybe somebody did, and you can yell at me if you did, but should he have been, I'm not saying he should have been the 101, but should he have been moved up? And like I said, think about it from the lens before the Stafford injury, like, because that came out mid to late summer. Should we have been looking at him over a Bijan, over a Saquon, over Jefferson before he moved down? Who should have been above him? Chase, and that's it, maybe? I don't know. Like, and I know this is like 2020 hindsight thinking, but this is the stuff that I do to try to make myself a better player the following year. Was there something here that we missed? And that's just my biggest theory right now, is that maybe if you didn't even move him to the 102, maybe you could have got him to the 104, and then you have a pretty good exposure rate to who's probably going to finish, as the best player and become the 101 possibly next year. So that's my question to you.
I think you should have. So it's easy to say, just to drill down on your, like, it feels like hindsight. It's like, well, of course we have to react to the things that happen. We can't dream up every possible scenario and try to think about and learn lessons from it, right? The easiest lessons to learn are from the things that spark, right, some creative thinking. I think it's good to consider, right, these when these things are happening, right? So there's a conversation in the Discord, of course. If you're not a part of the Discord, you can join that in the description below. But about like James Cook, and I actually think it was a really interesting conversation to think about James Cook and like, were we just wrong, right? Were we just wrong about James Cook? And then you start to diagnose it, and you drill down, and I'm kind of like, I don't feel any like, I don't feel like anything that's happening with James Cook was outside of what I thought was possible. They've played, fun fact, I love some fun facts after a handful of weeks of the season. The Bills have played the weakest schedule in the NFL. Their 4 opponents, guess how many wins have the Bills' 4 opponents to date? Mind you, they played the Ravens in week 1.
Yeah, the Ravens only have the 1 win.
Mm-hmm. How many total wins have the Bills'
Saints
opponents?
haven't won. God, I don't even remember who they played last week. I'm going to say 3 total wins. Is it just one? All the other teams?
The Ravens beat the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only win. That's the only win. They played the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Saints after the Ravens. And then the Ravens lost again this week. So they've played it. And look, we can keep saying the Ravens are great, but until they prove otherwise, the defense is pretty bad. The offensive line isn't very good. If they can't protect Lamar, now Lamar's banged up. Like, the Ravens just aren't that great. So anyway, the James Cook thing happens, and I promise I'll talk about Puka, but I thinking about these things and like then drilling down into what's happened. And you're like, well, they just played the easiest part of their schedule. They're playing with a lead all the time. James Cook is very good. They're going to score points. He's playing 60% of snaps. He's played like 60% or so. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what I expect from James Cook. He popped a couple big runs. He scored some touchdowns. This is what you get, right? He's also going to have games closer to week 1 when they did play those Ravens. You're like, he has like 40 yards. Okay, maybe he doesn't score a touchdown in those games. Who cares? With Puka, the only thing that was holding anyone back, literally, the only argument I've ever heard, which is what Dial says in the chat here, was the Stafford injury. I never heard a single person say like, yeah, like, I'm just not sure how good Puka is. Or I'm just not sure about the Rams. Right. I'm not sure about McVay. Even like Devontae, like nobody really said like Devontae is going to steal targets. If anything, it was like Devontae might be washed. Right. Like nobody was really like, at least not like you said, when we say nobody, I don't mean there's 0 people out there. I just mean the overwhelming majority there was never a Puka concern. Right. Everybody knows he's awesome. He led the league in yards per out run last year, had the greatest rookie wide receiver season in the history of the NFL. They build the whole goddamn offense out of him. McVay only throws to 2 players. It's like everything is perfect. The only concern was Matthew Stafford's back injury. And I get it. Look, we all have that same concern. But it's funny where I think about what you asked is we pick certain concerns and we're at like when the concern is not Puka Nakua related, it's Matthew Stafford's back related. And it's like, how come that concern gets more weight than the other concerns do? And I do this same thing, right? This is me and you riffing about the mistakes that we make. How come the Stafford back injury is the one thing that we're like nobody gave a shit that the Bengals offensive line was horrible, right? Nobody cared. I didn't. We all just like, well, the defense is bad. They're going to score. They're going to throw a bunch. They're going to score 1 million points. Nobody cared that Joe Burrow's been hurt in the past, right? Nobody cared that CeeDee Lamb has been banged up quite frequently. Nobody cared that JJ McCarthy hasn't played a goddamn snap in the NFL. And spoiler alert, probably isn't very good, right? And then he got hurt. And nobody cared, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's like all these different things that we didn't really care about. But when it's like, it's this, it's like the hype of oh my God, Matthew Stafford's not practicing this back thing is scary. So we're like, put Puka in the second round. And it's like, yeah, but like they all have some concern, right? There's some small concern. I'm not even saying that the Stafford one isn't a bigger concern than the other ones, but everyone has a certain level of risk. And when it's not about that player, plus with the Rams, we've seen McVay cook with trash. He turns chicken shit into chicken salad all the time, dude. He resurrected Baker's career. He's out here in the preseason. I know it's the preseason. He's out here cooking with Stetson Bennett and like I forget what the old John Wolford, right? Remember these guys? Like he just does it, man. Blake Bortles, right? Like he's able to produce offense almost no matter what, and it's always going to flow through Puka. And so I think the collective the Royal community did overthink it a little bit with Puka. You can argue about exactly where he should have gone, but the falling to the second round was like, our generation's Jamar Chase can't catch an NFL football because the lines on it or whatever. It was just like we picked that one thing and we got scared about that one thing and we ignored the things to be scared about for other people. And it really had nothing to do with Puka. And there's a reason to believe he'll be fine. Now, Stafford is the elevator, right? It's like McVay and Puka's talent and everything is like the floor. Stafford is what takes them to the next level. So I get that, but I just think it's one of those where you look back and you're just like, he was the best receiver in fantasy last year. He's the best receiver in fantasy as a rookie. He's probably just the best receiver in fantasy. And he has this amazing setup. And we were just like, Stafford's back's a little bit too concerning for me. I got to draft him after Brian Thomas fucking Jr. Like, I think we jumped the shark a little bit.
Yeah, and it probably was something with his back, but there's probably always been something with his back. And it probably was some gamesmanship with the Rams too. They're like, Stafford's fine. Like, these are the comments that I hate, and no disrespect, ML. But he wrote, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think Puka is a sell high in redraft. The odds of either him getting injured himself or Stafford is very high. To which I would just say, give me the odds. What are they based on? Like what are your, you're just saying
we just say, yeah.
You're
and I'm not
saying
even saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's easy to say because Puka does get banged up and Stafford is older or whatever. But it's like Joe Burrow got hurt. Malik Nabers is 23 years old and just tore his ACL. If we could predict it, this game would be so easy, but we can't. And so that's the problem is we are overconfident in our ability to predict those things.
Yeah, we're just not good at it. We've never been good at it at all. Did you want to say something about James Conner? I know you were making some James, or was it just James Cook? Maybe
no, just I was comparing like so you see a thing like James Cook happen.
Yeah.
And why I think it's interesting and worthwhile to like dig into those things, because then you start to dig in and like I didn't know this this morning before we started talking about it in the Discord. I'm like, damn, they really have played a cupcake schedule. Yeah. I'm like, wow, like so now I see why James Cook is smashing. Right. Yeah. It's like, and it's not that James Cook isn't a bad, it's not meant as like was James Cook a bad pick? Is this fluky? All that kind of stuff. I think James Cook was a fine pick. I think he's a really good football player. He's the starting running back, lead back on the Bills. But then you're like, well, when they're always playing with the lead because they're playing a bunch of shit teams, they're playing bad defenses, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, yeah, this is what you're going to get. It's the same thing with Derrick Henry, right? When Derrick Henry is playing with a lead, like hilariously they were against the Bills, even though they lost that game. When they're playing with a lead against a Swiss cheese run defense, like guess what happens? Derrick Henry fucking cooks, dude. That's what he does. The reason why we didn't draft him is because that is a flawed profile. It's not that he can't have big games. It's the flaw of the profile. And we're seeing that with Derrick Henry specifically and the Ravens. We just haven't seen that part come true yet for James Cook. On the flip side, right, is the Puka thing of like, yes, there is injury risk, but I don't think we figured out how to price it. I haven't. This is not me saying like this. This is all of us, because I don't know where Puka should have gone. I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm just saying we panic. The community panics when they see like, oh my God, Matthew Stafford, old quarterback, and he may not be healthy, right? But we don't panic when we see the Bengals offensive line is so bad that they're not going to be able to protect Joe Burrow, and he's now at an elevated injury risk as well, because it's hard, right? But that's the point. It's really hard to pinpoint all these injury concerns. And then there's just inherent variance. Malik Nabers was not more likely to be injured. Maybe he was, right? He's got the foot thing or toe thing or whatever. It's foot. I can't remember. Whatever. He's had that, right? He missed a bunch of camp. Was that why he got hurt? Nobody cared about Malik Nabers missing. Remember, like he's like, they're just going to have to suck it up and play through this, right? He's probably getting pain shots every Sunday or whatever. And it's like, did that contribute? I don't know. But like we just don't know. So I think we're better off, assuming the player is not like seriously already injured, Godwin or Ayuk or something like that. Assuming it's not one of those situations, I just think it's better to like try to exploit. If the market says we don't care, okay, now maybe let's be a little bit cautious. But if the market's like, I'm going to take the best fantasy wide receiver on the planet in this insanely incredible situation like the Rams with McVay, and we're going to be scared, I think that's the time to pounce. And so it's more about, right, exploiting our opponents than guessing when people are going to get hurt, because just guessing in for injuries is just a fool's errand, dude. You're just, none of us, these Twitter doctors can't guess. They have no idea. Right? No one knows. Right? Javonte Williams is smashing. Is it because he's healthy now? Was he healthy last year? Was he not? Is he healthy now? I have no, I don't know. We don't know. There's no way to know. So instead of trying to predict injuries, I think we should focus in more on some of the stuff, like you said. Like, did we just overthink the fact that this dude is just that good? It's like, and maybe we did. Maybe we did.
And I think the other guy, to a slightly lesser extent, that was a first round pick that we may have been able to move up a little bit more on PPR sites, might have been Amon-Ra. Just a tick more. I'm not saying I would have weighted it as much as we should have probably weighted the Puka one, but I think it's something to consider next year. Just when that first round settles, because we know it doesn't really move incredibly much throughout the year. Maybe some guys slide here and there, but maybe we should be looking at who it is in that first round, because we do it with the running backs. If they catch more passes than the other running backs, they get weighted more heavily. And we're not doing it with the receivers. And I still think that's fine on Underdog, because as much as Puka is crushing, if Puka becomes one of the highest advanced rate guys, and then Nico Collins, for example, is like underweight in the playoffs, but he's just capable of 2 monster games.
The Jonathan Taylor.
Collins. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor.
The last year, Jonathan Taylor.
Exactly. Bingo. The exact same thing. Like, it doesn't matter as much there as it could have in, like, even on DraftKings, where like maybe he outscores Puka, but Puka still caught 10 passes, which helps alleviate that gap a little bit, because that's also 100 yards. So he cancels out that bonus. And Malik Nabers, 2 touchdowns on 4 catches and 125 yards. One of those touchdowns is nullified just by catches for Puka. So I think we need to. I think it's something I want to try to do better next year. Not saying that I do it terribly now, but I don't think we think about it as much in the early rounds as we do sometimes in the mid to late rounds. And I want to make sure that I'm at least considering it. I'm not saying we don't know what that first round is going to look like. It might not end up mattering next year, but it's something I want to at least have that thought process going into for next year.
I think it trickles down into one of the things that I believe in, like, passionately, but we all struggle to deal with it, because there's just so many different little elements that go into, like, an evaluation of each player, right? It's not only everything that goes into your individual in a vacuum valuation of that player, like a Puka. It's right, the guys around him, it's your portfolio, like you said, it's site specific. There's so many different things that it's just really difficult to nail it all down. But generally, right, kind of like you talked about from a Survivor perspective, like, just don't take the West Coast team traveling east for the 1 p.m. road game or whatever. I think similarly from a best ball perspective. Now, Malik Nabers is it could be the opposite side of this thing. But when the things keeping a player's price in check have nothing to do with the player, with that player, right? It's a teammate like Matthew Stafford, right? It's a coach. It's a week 17 matchup, right? It's a whatever. When it doesn't have anything to do with that player, it's like, oftentimes I think that's a time to pounce. Is like when you're not actually, no one's worried that Puka isn't good enough. No one's worried that McVay's not going to use him well enough. No one's worried really about the Rams infrastructure. No one's worried about Devontae Adams stealing targets, right? No one's worried about any of this. They're just like, dang, this Matthew Stafford back thing is scary. And it is scary. But guess what? You know what else is scary? Playing a fucking best ball tournament that doesn't play out until New Year's. And we're spending thousands of dollars, right? And there's 20% rake and a really top heavy payout structure. It's like, you got to do some things that are scary in order to get the big payoffs. And so now the scary stuff of, like, is Brandon Ayuk or is Joe Mixon going to play this year? There's a level of scary that, like, that's about him, right? That's about, like, I don't know that Joe Mixon is going to play football this year. Puka Nakua was just like, shoot, will Matthew Stafford stay healthy? It's like, never, when it's not about that guy, it's something that I always try to remind myself to think about the next time, because, it's the aren't you worried joke, right? People, aren't you worried about Matthew Stafford? Yes. I was too, just like everyone was. There's a reason I didn't have him ranked 103 or whatever, but when it's something that has literally nothing to do with that player, I think that it can be, not always, but it can be an opportunity to pounce.
Well, we're going to have that opportunity next year because I have an inkling that Matthew Stafford's going to retire in the offseason. And then we're going to really test our mettle with what we're going to do with Puka, figuring out who, and especially if McVay leaves. I don't know his contract. I know McVay, but he's already considered leaving before. So if he's losing Stafford and his contract's close to up, he might be out the door. But I should have looked up his contract before I even said that, because someone will yell.
I know McVay's floated it, and like Aaron Donald retired and stuff like that. McVay strikes me as a dude who would be so fucking bored. Like, I don't think he would feel, fulfilled, like doing this Tom Brady shit, or going into the booth, or doing the analyst work on the pregame or whatever. Because that dude is a fucking savant. When you hear him talk about the game, like that would be like, I don't have a good comp, right? But like some 5-star chef, some 5-star Michelin chef having to go fucking run the line at McDonald's or whatever, right? If he had to go do the CBS pregame show or something, like he would feel so angry the whole time, like having to speak at a preschool level. Like it's not even preschool compared to how he thinks about the game, right? They're like, you got to establish the run. And granted, he probably believes in establishing the run, but like, you got to do this and we got to protect the passer. It's like, no shit, dude. That dude's thinking about like, 8D chess or whatever during football games. I would be, I don't think he's lying when he's talked about all this, but I find it like he must have some other passion that he's at, because like that dude is a football bro, other than he dresses like a model, right? Like it would be shocking to me if he actually did retire.
He'd make a bunch of money though doing some sort of studio job.
Yeah,
and I actually think he'd be good at it.
The Gruden shout is, and he's at Barstool now. I don't think I could imagine McVay at Barstool, but McVay could just like start his own YouTube channel and like make as much money as he's making as a head coach, probably.
Yeah, and his contract, I did look it up. Next year is his last year on the contract, so wouldn't be shocking if he either signed an extension or retired at the end of this year. I don't think he's going to go coach on a last year deal. So
not him. He's earned too much to be, playing on a 1-year contract. Those kind of guys don't
imagine
do that.
The Rams telling him to prove it.
Yeah. Why don't you go out and prove it without? We want to make sure you can do it without Matthew Stafford. He's like, motherfucker, I went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, brother. Like, I think I've proven. We won games with Baker flew in on a Wednesday and we won on a Thursday. Like, I've proven that I can win some football games, I think. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other guys from this week. Shout out Sam in the chat. If you're a fellow Ashton Genty truther like Sam is, you may have been having a difficult time holding the line for the first couple of weeks. You're listening to the folks, the tried and true. He ain't playing in the Mountain West anymore, right? He was a Mountain West schedule merchant, despite the fact that he made the Oregon defense look like fucking Swiss cheese, right? Number 1 overall team in the country. Just ignore the facts of the matter. He played in the Mountain West. Ashton Genty, here's another fun stat for you. Through 4 weeks, right? Obviously, a couple of teams tonight haven't played, but none of their guys are particularly in this conversation. Where do you think Ashton Genty ranks in total rushing yards on the season, right? So after 3 pretty disastrous games, he clearly had a big one in week 4. But where do you think he ranks overall rushing yardage amongst running backs this year?
I'm going to guess 9th.
Very good guess. 8th.
Okay.
He is 8th. Here's so it's just so funny because Ashton Genty was, and I get it, right? It was very concerning. The offensive line specifically was really, really concerning for the first 3 weeks. But here are some running backs who Ashton Genty has more rushing yards than: Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, Amarian Hampton, Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Bucky Irving, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, and on, right? He has more rushing yards than all of those guys. And after 3 weeks, we were ready to, oh my God, Genty was a bust. He's not that good. What a terrible first round pick, right? We did the CEH shit or whatever all over again. He is basically tied. He has 2 fewer rushing yards than Derrick Henry. And then there's Kyron. This is a funny list, by the way. So I'll start at the top. Jonathan Taylor, unsurprising. Second is James Cook. Third, Travis Etienne, who we were all pretty sure was going to be the one who got traded from the Jaguars, third in the NFL in rushing, fourth Bijan, despite a couple of bad games. That dude is, good Lord.
He should have a gift basket from the entire Falcons team.
Yeah, because
yesterday.
He's fourth in rushing, and he's the receive. We haven't gotten to the receiving part of the old Bijan profile, and that dude breaks a 50-yard catch. He should have had the 70-yard receiving touchdown yesterday. He got hawked. I couldn't believe he got hawked. But Kyle Pitts was probably very happy about that because Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown after that. But Bijan is just, my God, man, he's ridiculous. Fifth, another funny name, Javonte. We were ready, right? The Travis Etienne and Javonte Williams being in the top 5 after a month. It's just a month, right? But of rushing yardage, it's really, really funny. And then 6th is another guy we just continue to try to fellow Ram, Kyron Williams. We're just like ready to get rid of those guys. We're ready to Etienne needs to go. We need to get Tootin in there. Javonte needs to go, right? We need to get Jaden Blue or whatever in there. And Kyron, we're so done with it. And these guys it just shows how little we know, right? It's only a month. It's a long season. But it's just funny because the Genty thing I thought was interesting. I mean, absolutely nuclear game, and that was the Ashton Genty game of Ashton Genty games. He did everything. He had the big runs. He caught passes. He shook off tackle. Like he
trucked some dudes.
Dude, he's running dudes over. He catches the ball in the flat. Right. It's just like, Gino, you want to stop throwing interceptions? Just check it down to this dude because he's gonna make, like, the first guy that tries to tackle him either tries to arm tackle him and it's like his arms are invisible, or he just runs the dude over. It's like, just get this dude the ball. He's really, really good. The first 3 weeks, no big deal. The infrastructure with the Raiders is a concern, but obviously he's going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah. Just while we're on the topic of the Raiders, I just want to bring up the fact that while we're talking about them, not one Jacoby Myers truther has tweeted to me in the last 4 weeks to tell me how good of a player
future
Jacoby
New York
Myers.
Giant Jacoby Myers.
I just haven't been told that he's still so great since the season began. He had like that okay game for week 1, and what do you have? 4 catches for 30 yards yesterday, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I was just watching Genty play. I didn't know Jacoby Myers was even playing for the Raiders.
He technically
yesterday.
was playing.
He didn't show up very often on the screen. Neither, unfortunately, did Brock Bowers, which is also rather concerning. He went 4 catches for 30 yards. So yeah, he had 8 for 97, 6 for 68. And you're like, okay, this is pretty much the Jacoby Myers experience, but you can at least tell yourself, like, I'm getting a little bit better. And then no, 3 for 63, 4 for 30. In 2 games, no touch. He does not have a touchdown this year. In 2 games where they had to pass, they lost both of those games. They got destroyed by the Commanders, and then they lost to the Bears yesterday. 1-3 Raiders. It's not great. Jacoby Myers is a free agent after the season. I think he's an interesting potential trade candidate. They drafted Jack Besh and Dante Thornton, so they kind of have the next guys in line. Jacoby wanted a contract extension, if you remember, from probably lost in all the chaos. He also, like Juwan and these guys, wanted a contract extension, did not get it. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's somewhere else in a couple weeks.
Yeah, which is even worse for him because we just seen that doesn't tend to go well for the guy traded midseason. I mean, Gino looks terrible overall. That offense, other than
I didn't think he could look that bad.
I didn't think he could look that bad either. I didn't think he was going to be remarkable, but I think he looks terrible with the Raiders.
6 interceptions, 7 interceptions in 4 games. I didn't know that Gino could do that. This looks like New York Jets Gino. Like it's bad. It's better, but it's not that much better.
Yeah, it's not the profile we saw him, like what he was doing in Seattle, which he relatively protected the football, managed the game.
Like that's quarterback. He was like the most accurate quarterback in the NFL over his Seattle tenure. It was like his thing. Like, you don't throw interception. You might throw an interception from trying to be. He would take shots, but not this. This is crazy.
Yeah. While we're talking about wide receivers, what are your thoughts? This is going to come from left field, but did you see the route participation for Calvin Ridley yesterday?
No, I did not.
Buddy,
dude, I watched because Woody. I watched because I was rooting for Nico, and it was fun to see the Woody Marks breakout. But on a game when I did, my hopes were not very high for the games yesterday, and it far exceeded my expectations. The games were great. The afternoon was great. Sunday Night Football was unbelievable. That game, however, not so fun. So I have all the games on, but I wasn't locked in to old Texans Titans. Okay, the Titans are fucking unwatchable, dude. I'll watch the Saints on repeat.
Yeah,
for like you could lock me in a room and I'd watch the Saints, and they're terrible. But the Titans, please, anything but the Titans. I will watch paint dry over watching the Titans. It is bad. But no, what was his route participation?
Look up all the Titans wide receiver route participation, and I think it'll be fun for you to read those out while we're doing the show live. But I think you're going to be in a bit of shock when you see this particular number.
Okay, so they threw, hold on, my PFF is being funky. What they threw 31 passes. Io Manor ran all the whoa. Okay. Okay. In order. He was really far down the list. So in order of routes by Tennessee Titans players, right? So this is gonna have the running backs and tight ends in there. Here's the just raw number of routes, but it'll give you. I kind of like to read them in this way. Alec Io Manor ran 31. Tony Pollard 29. Tyler Lockett 29. Chigakonkwo 26. Calvin Ridley 15. Van Jefferson 13. Gunnar Helm 12. He was basically
31.
He was basically fucking Van Jefferson and Gunnar Helm in the offense. Did he get hurt? I don't think so. I wasn't. I told you, of all the games, I was watching that one the least closely, so it's possible that he got banged up. But he played half the snaps.
Sub 50% route participation. Oof. I think Self said that he played 54% of snaps, but like of actual routes run, he was sub 50%.
Sub 50.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about a guy that it's probably over for, I mean, maybe if you have him, you can squeeze a week or two out of him.
Yeah.
Here or there, but I don't even know if you're going to get that. I don't know what his contract is off the top of my head. I can look that up, but if we're talking about trade candidates mid-season, if the Titans aren't playing you, like you have no future there. They're a team that's in the rebuild.
They scored 0 points. They're the worst offense in the NFL, and if you are getting benched, because you're a part of that, right? They would rather play Van Jefferson and Tyler Lockett. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's great for our Io Manor bags because. They like him on the field quite a bit.
Wide receiver one.
Yeah, he's clearly the wide receiver one there. So that is a very good thing for me because I also faded Calvin Ridley. Not a guy we really talked about much in the offseason. Thought his price was just not good for what that offense looked like it was going to be. I didn't want to take those shots there. I mean, he was going around Zay Flowers, and
he went ahead of Zay Flowers by the end of the season. Yeah, Calvin really did. And now, look, it's not like Zay's like going scorched earth, but I feel very good about Zay. I saw there was a Ravens fan in the chat. We'll talk about them too. But I think moving forward, they're 1-3. The defense is bad and injured for the Ravens. Then they need to win some fucking games to make the playoffs. I think better days ahead for old Zay Flowers. I feel good about those. Amongst the like crappy wide receiver, projectable volume, maybe not superstars, but they're the wide receiver one or whatever. You definitely rather have DK Metcalf than these other guys. I think the Metcalf did a Metcalf thing yesterday, but the role expanded a little bit to where I think that's nice. What we need to see is them to stop using DK Metcalf like he's Jacoby Myers. Like he's getting used like he's the absurdly low ADOT. So like even on the touchdown, it's basically just the old school shout out Al Smizzle, the old school knees and elbows, catch the slant and run 80 yards to the house, right? That's what he did. It was still like a 7-yard pass that he took to the house. We're not getting what I think is best for DK Metcalf, but if you can pop a big one, which he can do in any game, I feel much better about DK Metcalf than Ridley, but then Myers, Jerry Jeudy, right? I'm probably missing some of these guys that we just propped up as like, oh, they're the veteran wide receiver one. Here's a lesson. We always are thinking about lessons. When the fuck are we going to learn the idea of who else are they going to throw the ball to is fucking bullshit. That's not a thing, right? Like if targets are earned, I understand you don't know where else they're going to go, so you think Calvin Ridley's going to get them all. If he's not good enough, he's not going to get the ball, right? And that's the problem for Calvin Ridley and Jacoby Myers and all those kind of guys, is when you're just not good enough, like it's hard to pay off an expensive price. Like those guys can be good picks when they're cheaper, right? That was like the old Adam Thielen thing, what the 2 years ago Adam Thielen thing was like, sure, I would take that guy in the 13th or the 12th or whatever. Sure. Right. The last year Jacoby Myers was on the Patriots, I did draft a bunch of Jacoby Myers on the Patriots because he was in like the 12th round, but paying a 5th round tag or something for those guys, that's when it gets a bit rich.
Yeah. They are good football players who just don't do it for 13, 14 years in general, right? Like, because when you're good, when you start to degrade, you become not good. Mm-hmm. So you have to get off the field. And Calvin Ridley's old. People keep forgetting that Calvin Ridley
31
is 31 years old. Jacoby Myers ain't young either.
Nope.
Like he's pushing 30, I think, at this point in time. So there's that. The DK thing. First thing about DK Metcalf, still the most terrifying player in the open field,
dude,
in the entire NFL.
I thought he was gonna get stopped on that 80-yard touchdown, and then I realized how stupid I was thinking that he might get stopped by a 200-pound safety or whatever at the goal line, and he's running full speed in a straight line. I was like, oh, this guy might knock him out of bounds. And then after it happened, I was like, what do you think? What are you talking about? Like, DK Metcalf is a fucking tank. He just like that dude. He didn't even feel that dude at the goal line.
Yeah, the Buda Baker rundown is still one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my life from DK Metcalf.
It's hard to believe that's real, honestly. Like, like if you didn't know that happened, and somebody like just posted on social with all the AI stuff, like I could be easily convinced that was AI. That hawk of Buda Baker.
Yeah, Kobe jumping over a car, basically.
Right. Right.
So my one thought on DK, because we do this, we just talked about it with Puka, is I wasn't at like 8% on DK Metcalf. And I don't think I should have been overweight DK Metcalf. But if I have 4%, I haven't looked at my actual number. I know we did the whole Arthur Smith thing, and that's why we didn't like DK and who DK is as a player. I do think I should have been at probably 8% of him based on where he was going, just based on it's Aaron Rodgers. And we kind of know like who Aaron Rodgers is as a quarterback. Like, if anyone's not going to change their stripes, I don't care about Arthur Smith, but I know Aaron Rodgers isn't gonna.
Everyone there with the Steelers, like all of those, that's a collection of non-stripe changing guys who kind of know what they are.
Yeah. So he's gonna get the ball to DK because that's just sort of who Aaron Rodgers is. He has that number one guy, and it really just was never going to be anybody else on Pittsburgh this year. I mean, like, who else was gonna be the guy that Rodgers was going to lock into?
I thought the tight end stuff could be possible, that they kind of build a little bit more of the offense focus through the tight ends. He definitely does like Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell. Doesn't like Caleb Johnson so much, but
he doesn't like rookies.
Yeah,
that was another mistake we made.
Caleb Johnson dropped another pass. I remember I had to do, I've Roto Grinder show on Sunday mornings, and I'm like getting ready, and sit down, like watch a last like the drive before halftime or something like that. Anyway, and Caleb Johnson's in the game, had an okay run. It was only like 3 yards, but I thought he looked okay on the run. And then they throw a pass, and as Rodgers does, he's captain check down. He checks it down to Caleb. He's wide open in the flat and just right off the old hands, right? And I'm just like, God damn it, dude! Like, you just have to at least do that. Like, just I know it, and I don't have that much Caleb Johnson, because aren't you worried about Aaron Rodgers with the yes? I was very worried. But it's like, God, dude, I do think he could help them, and he's just a better runner than Gainwell and Warren is, like pure runner, right? And it's like, but you got to just like do those very, very basic little things.
You got to do it all.
You got to just catch it. No one's saying you got to do anything fucking spectacular. Just catch. You can't drop it. You know what I mean? You can't do those little things, and that's the concern. And not just for Rodgers, right? But for a lot of these teams, not everybody is KOC or McVay or whatever, where like, dude, Kyron could fumble fucking 10 times and he's not going to bench Kyron because he just trusts him, right? Kyron did fumble this week. But it doesn't matter because he just trusts that guy. But there are a lot of coaches who don't operate in that way. And that you run a risk, right? Travion, you run a risk with these guys where RJ Harvey, whatever, it's like you got to earn your way into their good graces. And when they have other veterans, whether we fucking like it or not, right? Somebody mentioned Brashard Smith. We'll talk about that. Like, I'm excited for Brashard Smith. I think you should be excited for Brashard Smith. But like, when are we going to stop lying to ourselves about what the Chiefs have shown us? It's like, they're not going to stop the Pacheco, Kareem Hunt. Like, they got more touches again than Brashard Smith. I think Brashard's going to be fun, but more so as like a weapon, right? Like, get him in there, have a specialized role for him or whatever. Maybe he gets 10 to 12 touches a game or something like that. That's we're excited for that. But this is not Jerick McKinnon. He's not the new Kareem Hunt, right? It's like, this is not what this is. We shouldn't try to wish cast that into these kinds of spots. A lot of the times it is just Javonte Williams, right? It is just that Travis Etienne. It is just that guy. And I do this, dude, so much. We're always like, well, that guy sucks. Let's try to find the guy who can come beat him out. And it's like, yeah, but the team doesn't think he sucks. You know, like you might.
Or he doesn't suck at the things that the team needs him to do, like you brought up. Totally. And this is something that this is going to be, especially for fantasy and best ball players until the end of time. They're going to have these arguments. It started Thursday night this week. I mean, it's just beating a dead horse at this point, but
Ken Walker.
Everyone's just like, why don't they play Ken Walker more? Why isn't Ken Walker in the game more? Why are they playing Zach Charbonnet? It's like, because Zach Charbonnet does everything that team needs him to do. Just watch the game for me one time. Zach Charbonnet, he can pick up the short yardage stuff if they need him to. He can pick up pass protection if they need him to. He can leak out into the flat if he needs him to. Like, he does everything. Is Kenneth Walker a better runner than Zach Charbonnet? Yeah. Nobody's disagreeing with that. Is Zach Charbonnet ever going to turn around and run the other way 9 yards and get tackled for a 9-yard loss? No.
You want to know what coaches love? When you go where the play is blocked and they're like, that was supposed to be a 5-yard run and you got a 5-yard run. But you know what the coaches hate? When you bounce it to the outside and you turn what should have been a 5-yard run into a negative 5-yard run. It's like, there's nothing they hate more. We love the times when he turns a 0-yard run into a 40-yard run, because we should love those. Those are awesome. But a lot of the times the coaches are more pissed about the negative 5-yard run than they are excited about the 40-yard run. And I know that seems ass backwards, but it is what it is. That they do care more about that.
Yeah, because the negative 5-yard run is going to happen more often than the 40-yard gain.
You can't count on pulling a rabbit out of the hat, even though he does it more. Right, he's awesome. He does it more than the average bear, but you can't count on that all the time.
Yeah, you're just hurting the offense overall. I'm not saying he does it at an insane clip, but that's why Zach Charbonnet is in the game.
He does fucking do it at an insane clip. Well, he did it on Thursday like 5 times.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah. But this is why guys like Rachaad White in his rookie year took over, because he proved himself and for him to prove himself his rookie year with Tom Brady as the quarterback, right? Because Tom Brady is all about the personnel on the field and trust. Like, you have to have his trust. And rookie running backs never got on the field with him, and Rachaad White did. And I'm not saying he's a great runner, but that dude is also a guy that can get on the field and do what you need him to do. That's why he'll be in the league for a long time as a running back, because even when he's starting to run. Yeah, he's Samaje Perine. Yep, exactly. So that's the stuff as best ball players, as fantasy players, that we need to recognize. Like, we overly wish cast stuff sometimes. I'm not saying you shouldn't have drafted Kenneth Walker. You shouldn't draft guys that have high upside, but you have to understand what the situation is sometimes. Like, it just is what it is. There's reasons why and Kenneth Walker in some sense is a contingent back, like, because they're both contingent backs. Just one was drafted in the 4th round. Right. Exactly. And that's why, like, I like Kenneth Walker a lot, but I'm always way more overweight the last 2 years on Zach Charbonnet, because the price is better. I know he's got some standalone value here and there. And if Kenneth Walker does go down, which he's apt to do from the position, I mean, Charbonnet went down for a game already as well. But I'd just rather take my shot in the 12th round for a guy that I know they're going to keep on the field. If they're ever going to bench one of those two guys, it's Kenneth Walker. Charbs ain't getting benched. Like, he just ain't. So
Sharks had
and,
like 13 carries for 10 yards or something, and he came back and he still played more than Walker the next week. Just tells you everything.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's just the easy example to bring up, but you could go across the league and sort of look at a lot of these situations and understanding what that backfield is. Some of them just don't make sense, but a lot of them, if you just like take a step back and objectively look at like what the coaches want, and that's why Javonte Williams is on the field, right? Does everything the coaches want him to do. Like that's why he's getting his run. Like it was never going to be Jaden Blue because Jaden Blue can't do all the things that the coaches want him to do. And we knew that.
The coaches said the word consistency around Jaden Blue. I was like, oh God, it's over.
Yeah, done.
Javonte is many things with many flaws, but consistent is one of his. That's what he does.
Yeah. So we knew like exactly then what that was going to be. That you were taking Jaden Blue as an injury back. Like, and I'm throwing out examples, but I think like as best ball players, like a lot of these situations are going to pop up next year. And I think you just need to understand what you're drafting. I'm not saying to not draft players, but understand the reasoning why you're drafting them going forward.
And I think that's also, it's also like really like kind of freeing almost. It's really, this can be a mentally taxed, as silly as it is, right? We're sitting here on a Monday afternoon talking about this best ball game that like even large portions of the fantasy football community don't even know what this is, right? This is like a niche within a niche within a niche. But it can be like mentally taxing because you spend all of this time over the course of the summer investing in your research and then doing the drafts and putting your hard-earned dollars on the line, right? You work all day and then you watch some best ball streams and you do some drafts or whatever, right? And then the season comes and you're like, Jaden Blue is inactive and Keaton Mitchell's inactive and Dameon Pierce is inactive and and Javonte's playing ahead of this guy or ETN's playing ahead of this guy, right? Or Ken Walker's not getting the touches or whatever. But once you, like with Keaton's one of my highest owned players, right? And he's been inactive for the first month of the season. It's not ideal. I'm not like happy, I'm not fucking excited about it. But also have to be realistic that like a 17th round pick who has Derrick Henry on his team and Justice Hill on his team was like, I can sit here and wish cast like, oh yeah, he's going to pop a couple touchdowns, right? While those guys are healthy. But at the end of the day, it's an injury event.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's like, sure, you always hope for the top percentile outcomes, right? Even without an injury. But like what it really is, right? Why do I have so much Will Shipley? It's like I could wish cast, right? And like he was getting some work right before he got hurt in week 1, but like he was never gonna, like score a bunch of 15 to 20 point games. Like it just wasn't gonna happen. He is, if something happens to Saquon, that's the bet that has been made. So once you kind of accept that, right? That's the Jaden Blue thing to me was like, I think that's where your process could have led you astray was to be like, this dude's just gonna take this job from the go. And it doesn't mean that Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders got hurt, by the way, last night. So maybe Jaden Blue is active this week, and maybe he does get on the field and he does start to earn some work. But that's the thing. There was an injury, right? So long as you were like, yeah, if I can get an injury to Miles or Javonte, and then maybe I get something from this guy, right? Yeah, as long as like that's you understand that's the game that you're playing, then go swing away, have fun, go for it. I think that's fine. But I think we convince ourselves too much that those guys, right? And I do it too. You convince yourself like, well, this guy's just going to take this job. Like, and you just like, you get overconfident in this very microscopic percentile out. Like there's such a low probability that something like that is going to happen. But we kind of like, we like almost like hype it up too much in our own brains. But then, like I said, then the season gets here and that the most likely thing happens. But we've like made ourselves think that the most likely thing wasn't the most likely thing. And then you're like fucking hating yourself for 4 months or whatever, right? Because you did all this, you set the expectations wrong. When if you just set them correctly, it's like, yeah, like I just need some, there's been injuries already. You just hope that the injuries shake out in your favor because, it sucks. We don't want to root for them, but we just know they're going to happen. Right. And you just hope that you put the pieces together in your portfolio that you benefit the most. Right. Yeah. And just really on one team where it comes together.
We always think that the house is on fire after 1 week, right? Like everything, the house is always on fire. And add a correlation to that topic, like that I just want to bring up for like 2 seconds. We brought up this last week on this show I believe it was on this show. We talked about Trey Benson because the James Conner injury had just happened. And I think we both were in agreement. We were like, Trey Benson's going to be a thing. He ain't going to be a thing week 4. Week 5 is when it starts because they were on a short week and they were playing on the road. Actually, they might have been playing at home. Doesn't matter. It's still a short week. They were playing the Thursday night football game.
Yeah, against a good team.
Against a good defense and everything. So we knew that Trey Benson was going to need this. It was going to be week 5 or 6. I don't know if they have the week 5 bye. If they do, even better. Right? Yeah. So like they're going to come back week 5. He's going to have 10 days to have actually to implement him into the offense in the fashion that they want to implement him into the offense, rather than just trying to turn around a 2-day short week. And people were like on their high horse about Trey Benson after Thursday night. They're like, oh, well, he got the James and I think this was Hayden Winks. I'll just straight up say it. I think it was him. He was like, he got the James Conner role, but he didn't keep the Trey Benson role. And it's like, well, dude, it's 2 days, right? Like, let's see what happens after a few games where they actually have time to implement an offense based around their new personnel, right? And let's see what happens then. That's what I want to see. I didn't care about week 4. Now, I don't think he's James Conner. I don't think he's going to absorb both the role that he had and James Conner's role, but he's going to be on the field an awful lot. He's going to be doing a lot of the work there. He's going to probably get all the goal line stuff. He's probably going to get a lot of the high value touches in this offense. So I think he's going to be fine, right? Like I think we're going to be fine with Trey Benson. You want to be worried about the offense as a whole? Sure. At least Marv woke the hell up for a little bit in that game at the end.
That was like kind of a fun game and kind of the most frustrating game of all time. Weird. The Cardinals, I don't, speaking of teams I don't like watching, I don't like watching the Arizona Cardinals. And I should have thought about that before investing a lot of US dollars into this offense, because I have a lot of McBride, Marv, Benson, right? I have a lot of these guys, and woof, they are not very, it's also one of those where like, yeah, I've been saying this for fucking months, where like there's no juice in this Cardinals offense. And this isn't like we waited to see the games. Like I've been saying this for months of like, I can't believe they just ran it back with this offense, because the problem last year was a lack of juice, right? And by that, I mean they have no speed on offense. Yeah. I've said this analogy 1,000 times already. They're playing modern basketball without shooting 3-pointers. Is how they're playing offense. The stress, right? So Marv is getting all this hate, and he needs to play better, of course. But like Marv is getting all this hate. You talk about Benson, like these guys are having to run uphill in the snow, because when the defense doesn't feel any pressure, and Marv is the only one who can do anything down the field, but he also has to be the first read and do contested catch stuff, right? And like the stress on their players, mainly those 3, because the rest of the team fucking sucks. That Michael Wilson made the really nice catch. I guess I'll give him some props for that one-handed catch that he made.
Great, he dropped 3 more.
Yeah, exactly. He sucks, but it's rough. Like I just can't believe they ran it back with this, a bunch of dudes who run 4.6 40s across the whole offense. Like Kyler's the only guy with speed. He's the fucking quarterback. It's bizarre.
They need an Alec Pierce, an AD Mitchell, a Ted Ginn Jr.
Yeah,
they need that a Tutu Atwell. Like,
yeah, Tutu has 1 catch for an 88-yard touchdown on the season. Will the Cardinals have a play of over 50 yards this year? I think Marv might have. It was close, but like Tutu has turned his 1 touch into 88 yards. Will the Cardinals have a play even remotely as explosive as that over the course of the
They only have 2 guys that can do it, to your point.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's Marv, it's Benson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I mean, only 2 guys that can do something.
So he had a 45-yarder in week 1. That's their longest.
Yeah. And I think Benson had like a 42-yard
run in that game. Same game. The Saints. Shout out to the Saints. We love the Saints. They're good for all of our
They're fun.
Bikes. They're very fun. They're legit. Rattler is fun. Please no Tyler Shuck. Give us Rattler all season. He's not great, but like he's out there fucking slinging it, and he's playing ball, dude. And Kellen Moore is doing a good job. They're fun. They're really, really fun. Kendre, shout out Kendre Miller. Dead cat bounce in this year. We survived the disaster that was Kendre Miller the last 2 seasons, and now we're getting the year 3 breakout for Kendre. Funny when Dennis Allen leaves, things get better for some of these guys. But
who do they got week 17? Is that the Titans game? Is it Saints Titans?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Kendre Io Manor for all the money, baby. Get ready.
Oh no.
Again, I can't believe I have to watch that fucking game in week 17. Maybe the Titans will score more than 0 points.
They will.
By the time
I will promise you that they will score more than 0 points that game.
This is so good. Best Ball calls this the Cardinals need AD Mitchell, but the problem would be AD Mitchell would have the 80-yard play, but he would drop it before he went into the end zone. Dude, okay.
He was on my single entry yesterday, and I was so mad.
I can't. I played him in the afternoon. My afternoon team ended up sucking anyway. I had Pierce all got hurt and whatever, but I'm just sitting there. Every time this happens, it's like I feel like I wrongly, or inappropriately, I'm really harsh on that player now, because it is. Is there a stupider play in sports?
No.
It has to be the stupidest play, right?
It should have only happened one time.
Yeah, one person did it, and everybody else said, like, anytime you ever even think about pulling the ball out, like, dude, there's just no reason. And it happens like every few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. And of course it was AD. Of fucking course it was AD
Yeah.
Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that Michael Pittman would ever do that, right? But AD Mitchell that is the most AD. That was the single most AD Mitchell play I can ever think of.
Mm-hmm.
It was sick. Dude, the route was good. To make that was a tough catch. And then Ryan Williams is, the kid from the wide receiver from Alabama. You remember the spin move he did last year in the Georgia game? That was just like, it was like a miniature version of that. The spin move after the catch. I was like, holy shit. How did he do that? And then, of course, he tops it off with the most brain dead ass play you can ever commit in a sporting event. And it's just like, and then he's roaming around the sidelines all mad. I'm like, don't do that. I mean, I get it. He is mad, but like, like his teammates they were talking about his teammates are trying to calm him down, and he won't calm down and whatever. And it's like, I hate that too, because it's like, sit down and listen. You fucked up, dude. You did the dumbest thing. Don't storm around like a child. That makes it worse.
Yeah, when you're worse Deshaun Jackson, you can't make mistakes that Deshaun Jackson made.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like you can't be worse Deshaun Jackson and then still have the bad traits. Right. Like you better play your best.
That's like trying to emulate Tyreek Hill or something. It's like there will never be another Tyreek Hill. Don't be the bad version of Tyreek Hill. That's just a criminal. Don't do that. You don't want all the bad parts of the guy without being as good as they are at sports, actually.
All right. Do you have anything else, or do you want to jump into these first quarters real quick?
We didn't talk enough about Woody. I will answer. There's been some like trade questions and stuff. I really don't mind answering some of those. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back. So this is actually kind of interesting, between 2 guys who just returned this week from a news noteworthiness. What did you think about Addison? Addison versus Godwin, or just both of them overall in their first games back?
Godwin had that bad drop,
mm-hmm.
which I'm hoping is just ring rust. Like just needs to be back out there.
Mm-hmm.
I like Godwin better over Addison. I just think it's attached to a better quarterback. He doesn't have to be the wide receiver 1, because if you want to talk about the Bucks, people keep trying to like downplay Ibuka, and this dude is just the dude. He's just the dude.
I love him so much.
I love Ibuka. He's nasty, man. Like, he is just, if I could pick a wide receiver to do the things I want a wide receiver to do, there he is. It's Emeka Ibuka. I wish I had 100% of Emeka Ibuka on my best ball teams.
Just even for the vibes.
Yeah, just for the vibes.
Even they're just great. You just watch a Bucks game and you're just like, even when, because he's been very good.
Mm-hmm.
He's been pretty touchdown driven to where, I'm not going to sit here and crown him the next Justin Jefferson or something. He's not that. But he's just a really good football player. and like he just does everything. He doesn't make rookie mistakes. The AD Mitchell. I mean, AD Mitchell's not a fucking rookie. He's not even close. Like that, he would never. Right? He just doesn't make mistakes. Baker trusts him. That throw, by the way, from both the Bucky and the Ibuka, Baker is fucking bonkers. First of all, most quarterbacks don't attempt those throws, and then to put them on the absolute money with the tight coverage was crazy, man. Baker is. The Bucks are really fun. Like they don't even have Mike Evans. Godwin's not all the way back yet, but the Bucks are really fun. Godwin did have 10 targets in that game. It didn't go well, but he did have 10 targets. Played 80% of the snaps in his first game back. So I think better days are ahead for both of the guys, but I'm a little more excited for Chris Godwin because I like the Bucks.
Yeah, and my last point on the Ibuka thing, we talked about the Tyreek Hill thing where like he's got that one thing, and once it's gone, he's done type of deal. Ibuka is one of those wide receivers that you're going to see in the league for 12, 13 years.
Totally.
Because of the type of player he
Keenan.
is.
He's Keenan.
Yeah.
He's like Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Just good. Just smart. Like just be smart in the NFL and have a good level of talent. And you're golden for 12 to 14 years easily.
That's what they say about Keenan, by the way, is that he's like a football savant.
Yeah.
That's why he can just show up somewhere and doesn't need prep and all that kind of like he just can show up to the Chargers and like week 1 he's just the leading receiver or whatever because he just knows ball, dude. You want to talk about ball knowers? Keenan knows ball. I think Ibuka, that's probably my favorite comp for Ibuka. This is pretty funny. We had a similar one that someone offered us a trade in that league that I was talking about. I co-manage it, and somebody offered us a trade for it. Was awful. It was laughable. It was one of those like this boomer thinks he's gonna take Malik Nabers after a bad game from us or something like that. So of course declined, but you're like, damn it, God damn it. I would have taken anything for Nabers now, but Jonathan was offered he offered Tyreek Hill and Jordan Mason for Malik Nabers, which I think was a kind of good offer. If you would have got, if you could get out from underneath it, get away from the Tyreek Hill business, I think would be a good, and Mason's obviously not going to be this guy forever. With Aaron Jones eventually coming back, but
Tyreek, this is going to get a lot worse tonight, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He's going to get sauced.
Yep, I bet the Jets. Dude, you'll never convince me that the Dolphins should be favored against anyone. I'm not saying they're going to lose every game because they probably won't, but I don't think they should be favored. Again, maybe against the Titans. Maybe against the Titans.
Maybe against the Titans.
I don't think they should be favored against the Saints. The Dolphins. The Saints are bad, but I'm not sure that they should. Even in Miami, I'm not sure. Like maybe that's
minus one in Miami.
Yeah, like -1.5 or something like that. But like that, not the Jets. The Jets with Fields back. What are we doing? No, stop. The Jets should have beat the Bucks last. They basically did beat the Bucks last week. And you're telling me the Dolphins are favored over that team? That's with fucking Tyrod at quarterback. That's insane. Let's see. Would you trade? Oh, my Lord. What would you do? Bijan or Gibbs and T-Mac?
I mean, yeah. Right? Like, as much as I love Bijan.
To get T-Mac alongside Gibbs.
Yeah, you're getting 2 locked-in starters, especially if you're like depleted at wide receiver.
Yeah. I would say it matters I would rather have Bijan than Gibbs. And
same.
if you need, but if you really need that flex or wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, whatever, I would do it. I will say, if we're going to be critical of the Titans and the Cardinals and stuff, the Panthers are a pretty fucking rough watch, dude. It
depends. They were fine last week.
I feel so bad for T-Mac. Like he's good.
Yeah,
I have no doubt that he's good. The old sun run from Bryce down the stretch last year, I'm not sure that was very sticky. And I'm not sure we'll know. Maybe when Coker comes back or something, but I'm not sure we're gonna have any way to know if this Bryce thing was real last year because they got nothing, dude. Their Jatavian Sanders is out. They're playing. David Moore was starting at wide receiver, and then his like shoulder got ripped out of its socket like immediately to start.
Yeah.
That was weird. I I can't believe I'm reciting this, but so, you know, like you go to stiff arm somebody, the defender grabbed his arm and yanked him down with it. And it goes just like slipped out. I'd never seen that one. So they're just like playing total bums at wide receiver.
You know who has bad shoulders is our music producer, Jesse. He's
got one that just like pops out all the time. Like
both.
Ooh.
So like the funniest one ever was years ago in Boston, getting into an altercation, was getting ready to fight and threw both of his shoulders out. And he's just sitting there.
Was it while he was getting ready? He starts going like this and he just goes, and his
I don't even remember. I think he was actually just trying to break up a fight. And I think he slipped. And as he went down, one went out, and then like the other one went out. And he's like trying to stop somebody from fighting. And he's just like, he's like a wacky waving inflatable arm guy.
He's like the dude from Monty Python.
Yeah.
With his limbs are chopped off.
But that dude loses his shoulder. So like I know it. I know what it looks like. It's gross. I hate it.
Yeah, so I had missed this. I mean, so I saw Bucky got hurt, but then he came back in the game. Bucky, he caught the touchdown. He caught the 70-yard touchdown after he had gotten hurt. But I guess he was playing through something. I haven't heard what's up. But I saw Todd in the Discord posted something as well. Like, is there an update on Bucky? And I was like, what do you mean update on Bucky? But I guess Todd Bowles also said there's a list of injured players, and they asked him, like, is Bucky a part of the players that you're worried about? And he said yes. So that's I who knows, right? It could be nothing. Tucker Kraft, it looked like they were gonna have to amputate his leg, and then he played the next week. Like, so I don't know. But that's a little bit concerning. I see the lad and Chargers questions. I don't want to do the lad thing again. Well, we can do that next week. Let's see how week 5 goes for the Chargers. It's not you guys. I promise. It's a very good question. I'm very sick of talking about lad.
Hampton looks good though.
Hampton, that run was the touchdown run was sick, and he runs like a grown man. That
he
dude
looked like he got his confidence yesterday. Like I know that's like a little thing to say, but I don't think he was playing with much confidence the first few weeks, just like body language and stuff. And then yesterday it was just like it. I mean, I know they lost and they weren't great overall, but him specifically, he was. It looked like it clicked for him yesterday, and I now I feel good.
You know what it reminded me of in that regard? It's like the Benjamin Button version of Boobie Miles from Friday Night Lights, where it's the inverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you watch Boobie at the start, he's just like swagging out every play. He's like, this is going to the house. Anybody that comes tackled him, he's going to talk shit to him, right? It's like Hampton had a really nice run, or it might have been a catch, either way. And then one of the Giants guys did like rock him on the sideline, but he pops up and he's like, it's like week 1 Hampton would have just like cowered and jogged back to the huddle, and this, like, he's like getting in dudes' faces, he's trucking dudes, he's like, he looked like a totally, if he like changed jersey numbers or something, I wouldn't have known that it was the same player this week as week 1. So it was cool to see. I thought he looked really good. Obviously had a big fantasy day from the big run, but you want to talk about workhorses? They didn't play any other of those. No. I understand why they didn't add another back, because they have no intention of playing another back in LA.
We forget about that with rookies sometimes, though. Like, dude, I know they play big college games and stuff, but these dudes are stepping onto an NFL field for the first time, and not everyone's Anquan Bolden, right? Like, not everyone is just like a stone cold killer like Anquan Bolden was. So it does take guys like maybe like even that was Ginty's problem, right? And then you have Hampton. Some of these guys need to acclimate to playing the NFL, and who's the guy I was just trying to think of, the dude from Any Given Sunday, get their little throw up out there, and then they're good to go.
Whatever Jamie Foxx's character,
why can't I?
That's gonna piss me off. That's really gonna piss me off because I love that movie. The Al Pacino speech at the end of Any Given Sunday is legendary sports moment.
Willie Beeman, right?
Before Willie Beeman, yes.
Before the chat gets it, I just wanted to make sure I got
yes.
Willie Beeman.
Somebody was gonna get in there and is gonna make me mad that I couldn't think of it. Yes, Willie Beeman. Yep. More people are Willie Beeman than Anquan Bolden.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a good. The chat chat was good. The opposite of Ad and I. But yeah, let's talk about the first quarter. To wrap up here, you can go ahead and share. Well, so just really quickly while you're pulling that up, I just wanted to cite a couple of things from, so people get worried about like, oh, my guy hasn't started off well, or right, like, oh, my season is over because I drafted a guy who isn't scoring a lot of fantasy points, or more specifically, I faded a guy who's scoring a lot of fantasy points. Just super quick through the first 4 weeks last year. Here's some guys who were the highest scoring. Let's just do wide receivers. Chris Godwin was up there. DK Metcalf was up there. Jaden Reed, Juwan Jennings, the aforementioned Marvin Harrison Jr. was 9th amongst wide receivers. We thought he was a bust, right? Stephon Diggs, Rashee Rice, Jameson Williams, Alan Lazard was averaging 12 fantasy points per game in the first month, near the top of wide receivers. And then obviously at the end, it was none of those guys, literally none of them at the top. And then even then, we talked about Jonathan Taylor earlier. If you go look at like running back overall scoring, Jonathan Taylor is nowhere near the top. But who did you really want in, these playoff format best ball drafters, and then marathon and stuff are different. But in like Best Ball Mania, who did you really want? You wanted Jonathan Taylor. So it feels more impactful now than it really is, right? Like your advance rates or any of that kind of stuff. It just, you always want to get off to a hot start, but like the injuries are mounting and the bye weeks are coming. And the bye weeks are where things really start to shake up. You could be down a lot of points right now and still come back and advance a team.
Yeah, bye weeks really make things change. All right, let's look at the first quarter tournament. This was our Lamar, Gibbs, McBride team. We're in 193 right now. We'll look at our team. Then maybe we'll look at the team in first right now. So we had Bryce and Lamar, and we used Lamar's score at 11.6. So not great is what we will say.
I locked Lamar in DFS yesterday, so I'm with you on this misery. I cashed the main slate with Lamar. With Lamar, that was even more frustrating. It was set. I'm sure you were feeling it in the second half. You're like, oh baby, we're about to go. He's about to go scorched earth, right down 20 or whatever, and then it just never got going, and then he got hurt. So
that was not great. For our running backs, we used Javonte Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs, who had respectable scores but not tournament-winning scores. We do still have Braylon Allen. QJ just scored. If you wanted a player that just like was the MVP of this first quarter tournament,
insane.
If you had QJ, he'd probably put up points for you every single week. That's just who this dude was. We had Romeo Doubs on this team, which should have been great. But we're also using Steph Diggs 13.2.
Sutton and Wilson.
We have Sutton and Garrett Wilson still.
Okay.
So we can still move up. Right now we're playing Mark Andrews 6.5 in the flex. And we're going to be using Trey McBride at the 8.7. So there's still room for movement.
Damn, Lamar. You weren't going to win it, even if Lamar, does a 30 ball or something like that. But you could be live for a nice run up the leaderboard if Lamar just does something. We could
be looking at something, because we're going to start getting points for one of these receivers at 6.5.
What's your other receivers? 13 is the lowest.
13 is the lowest. So we could add with both, but if one of them has a good game, we can definitely add a decent amount of points for sure.
Yeah. So you could have had 40 more points on this team.
Yeah.
Right. And been in the 160s or something, which is in the top 10. Right.
Yeah.
That's it. Just like you're like a good Lamar game away from, like you said, probably not winning, but sniffing in the top 10.
Exactly. The top team right now is a 3 quarterback team. It was Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love. Obviously, they're using Jordan Love's score. Then they played 4 running backs, but like I do like the way they sort of layered this. Although I don't think I would have. Again, they're winning $15,000. I'm not. But they went CMC, Taylor, Josh Jacobs, and David Montgomery, which ended up working out for them because Montgomery had that monster game last week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Montgomery is the player I would have added for the 4th if that's the way I was playing this, but maybe there's something to learn there. They had QJ, Dobbs, Adunze, and George Pickens.
Oh,
So what we learned is we should have just been targeting this Green Bay Dallas game in these tournaments and trying to get that game through. And then he used Hunter Henry at 3 tight ends. So it was a 3-4-3 8 build here, 7 build,
interesting.
something like that.
Can you go to the tight ends? So Conklin was a waste. This is really Andrew. Probably used both Andrews and Henry score last week.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
They both had their spikes in the same week, and then obviously Hunter Henry scored another touchdown.
Yeah.
This week. Interesting. It's an interesting team. Yeah, QJ and Dobbs. Dobbs had another one or two, for sure. One other like usable week was big in this format. I think that was, the 3 touchdowns last night's not necessarily foreseeable, but I think that was foreseeable that Dobbs was good in this format. I think it was foreseeable that QJ was good in this format. Wandale had the big week 2 against. So like some of those kind of not as fun like BBM picks were really, really good. Turned out to be really, really good in this format. And like I said, I think that was something that we could have foreseen.
Let's look at our other team here, which was a Nabers team. So that was painful.
RIP. Yeah.
It's in 216th place right now. I actually did have some hope for this team because it's a Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts team. So we played Love's score of 26.2. Running backs were Jacobs.
Wow.
J.K. Dobbins, who we have tonight. This was the team with like the sick running backs. JCM,
this running back room is amazing.
Javonte Williams and Trey Benson. Right now we're playing Trey Benson's 7.9 in our flex. So we have room to improve. We can't make a run though. We are not.
So the receivers are bad, I guess, is what the problem
my God.
is.
Yeah. We're playing Io Manners 5.4 right now. we have Zay Flowers 10.9. Diame is obviously hurt. Troy Franklin hasn't played with yet, but Jalen Waddle hasn't played yet. We had JSN at 11, and we had Malik Nabers.
Yeah, Nabers, JSN. You still have Waddle and Franklin that can do some stuff, and then Gesicki. Noah Fant is out. I'm not saying I'm expecting a bunch from Gesicki, but Noah Fant is out. So same thing. This one can do some damage too. It's just like needed the other one needed like a Lamar spike to be dangerous, and this needed one of those. Just give me another wide receiver. Yeah,
this needed Nabers to A, not get hurt, and B,
Nabers scores 24 or something on this team, and you're like, oh baby, we're in business.
Yeah. We'll look at the first place team because they have 190 on this team. They're up by
Neil Farley.
Is it Neil? Okay.
Yeah, not Neil Orfield. Neil Farley from he's on Twitter. He does some good like data viz stuff for best ball.
Yeah, I wasn't even
That's
looking
awesome.
at the name. But he had also a 3 quarterback team, which I think is crazy in this format, but I'm being proven wrong this year. Daniel Jones, although like this, I think if you are doing a 3 quarterback team in this,
he punted it. I don't mind this one so much.
This is the way to do it if you're doing it. Daniel Jones, Stafford, and Justin Fields. And then he had Jaden Blue, Travis Etienne, Tyrone Tracy, Omarion Hampton, and Christian McCaffrey.
Wow.
So pretty good. I think that's a good way to layer your running backs.
I'm shocked that because Tracy really never did anything, and obviously Blue hasn't even been active, so it's functionally a 3 running back room. But it went to Hampton.
They
didn't
layered
do anything for the first 2 weeks, so Etienne's been huge. Like CMC is just doing like mostly floor stuff, but Etienne was kind of the QJ of his running back room.
Yep. Then he had Kayshon Boutte, QJ score he's using, Xavier Leggett, RIP, Waddle, who can still go tonight, Jamison Williams, Pickens, and Puka.
Oof, Pickens and Puka.
So that's why we're crushing. And then he had Dallas Goedert, who had a great game yesterday. And even if he didn't have Goddard, he had Kincaid, so I think he would still be up here. And then Loveland, RIP. So
it's so impressive to score less than 18 points when you have 2 receiving touchdowns. That's the most Eagles shit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Dude, if you want, did you see the stats for Hurts in the second half?
Yeah, 0 passing yards. How's that possible?
He went 0 for 8.
I don't know how that's possible in the NFL. They won the Super Bowl last year, and he didn't complete a forward pass for an entire half of a football game. Like, fucking throw a screen, throw a check down, do something. And they won again, and that's the frustrating part. They're not getting punished for this stuff. It's like they should have lost to the Rams, and I'll at least give them credit. They turned it on in the second half, right, against the Rams. It was an impressive second half, but they still should have lost because they waited too long to put the foot down. And then this week, I thought they were good in the first half. I thought they were really good. I thought the passing game looked good, and then they. I mean, it wasn't just taking the foot off the gas, but they sucked so bad passing. It's like this team is so frustrating, and it's like it's really frustrating because they keep winning. So they're probably not thinking they have a lot of reason to change anything, and I do get that, but I also think that, like, you know, that lucky rabbit's foot doesn't continue to work forever, and they're not as good as last year. Like, the defense isn't as good. The roster isn't as good. The offensive line isn't as good. Saquon, have you heard a peep about Saquon? Remember last year was nothing but, oh, you LOL, you idiots, faded Saquon on the Eagles. And now it's like, don't hear a lot of people boasting about Saquon Barkley, the 15th leading rusher in the NFL after 4 weeks or whatever. Like, they're just not as good as last year.
They did my favorite Saquon run, though, yesterday. I love when they run the fake tush push and like bring Barkley like on off to the sideline.
Yep,
it just works so well, and they do it. They don't do it a lot, which makes it. It's just when they use it.
They threw a pass out of the fake tush push too.
Yeah, I love the fakes out of it.
How do you fucking stop that? Seriously, you can't stop the tush push, and now they're running. Yeah, they're running the Saquon run off of it, and they're throwing passes to Goddard out of it. Like, they could run a whole they could probably never leave the tush push in an NFL game, and you couldn't stop them.
Right?
I don't think you could. They just literally like the Army Navy game, but they're just gonna sit in the tush push and see if you could stop. Like, that's what they're gonna play the Saints or something like that, and Sirianni's gonna be like, let's show these fuckers tush push every play and see if we win a football game.
Be amazing. Yeah, but overall, fun week 4. Wish it was a little bit more of a profitable week 4. What we have to look forward to, though, is the hardest tournament in sports starting next week, the weeks 5 to 8 tournament. I didn't get a ton of volume in that. I think I only got 8 or 9 entries in, to be fair. But, buddy, I felt like I was fighting for my life on every single entry that I entered that tournament. I did not feel like I was I felt like I was on autopilot on some drafts throughout the summer. Not these. So we'll probably talk more about that next week.
Yes, we will. I didn't get as many in as I want. I got 10 in as well, but I feel the exact same way. I'm kind of excited to see how that one goes, because I found, like, I agree. That was the most I've never actually felt like miserable. Like, even in, like, I'm going to do this on Wednesday, by the way, but when we would do the, like, draft a bunch of different teams in all the different kind of sports at the same time, because we got baseball stuff, we got hockey, we got all, and I just want to have some fun drafting some teams this week. Even when, like, I didn't know, I don't know the hockey player pool that well, or I'm not I'm not an expert in some of these other sports. I never felt like the like pain, like being on the clock or whatever. It's probably just blissful ignorance for those other sports. But in this, I was just like, dude, even in by round 4, I was like, am I really going to take this guy, like in the 4th round? And then you get to like round 12 and it's like, there's like not a player here that I think is like going to score a fantasy point. You know what I mean? Like, it's like by the time you got to round 10, Chris Rodriguez is the best pick on the board or whatever. It's like, it is bleak, man. I got a lot of Chimere DK, Demarcus Robinson is on these teams. Like, it is rough in the second quarter. So I don't know that my teams are good, but I feel like most of the teams look pretty rough.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more next week. But an already shrunk player pool that shrinks even more because of bye weeks. So we'll see the fallout of that starting next week.
I agree. Shout out to Rick. One auto wing 150 in the second quarter. That is that is an insane thing to do, but I love it. You are in the right place here at Spike Week. I'll be back on Wednesday. Enjoy doubleheader God bless a Dolphins Jets Monday Night Football game. They had to make sure they gave us another game because we can't have solo Dolphins Jets on Monday Night Football. But enjoy the games. I'll be back on Wednesday to draft some teams. We'll do some drafting. We'll get back into some DFS and we'll have some fun in week 5. Buys are here. It's about to be even crazier. If you think it's been crazy for the first month, it's about to get even crazier. We'll catch you guys next Monday back here in the basement. Cheers.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.